I never imagined that a single quiet afternoon could turn into a moment that would change the way I saw my own life, and my son, forever. My name is Rachel Miller, and at 42 years old, I thought I understood what stability meant. I live in a small, peaceful town in Ohio, the kind of place where you recognize every face at the grocery store, where weekends smell like cut grass, and Sunday dinners always end with laughter echoing through the walls. My days used to flow in a predictable rhythm: morning coffee by the kitchen window, the soft hum of the dishwasher, the rush of getting ready for work, and the comforting noise of family life that filled every corner of my home. My son, Ethan, is 20. A bright, passionate young man studying computer science at the local university. Though most of his friends had moved out, he chose to stay home, partly to save money, partly because we had always been each other's safe place. Ever since his father and I divorced, Ethan had become more than just my child. He was my anchor, my reason to keep pushing forward on the hardest days. He had his father's quiet strength but my stubborn heart, and even though I tried not to show it, I leaned on him more than I probably should have. That Saturday began like any other. The air smelled faintly of rain, and the house was wrapped in an unusual calm. I remember wiping the counters clean, the faint hum of the dishwasher blending with the tune I was humming under my breath. Everything felt ordinary, until it didn't. When I passed the hallway, I noticed Ethan's bedroom door was slightly ajar. That was strange. He usually kept it closed tight whenever he was studying. Something about the silence inside felt off. I hesitated, then knocked softly. "Ethan," I called. No answer. So I pushed the door open a little more, just enough to peek inside, and what I saw made my heart twist. Ethan was pacing the room, his laptop open on the bed, papers scattered across the floor like fallen leaves. His hair was messy, his eyes tired, his breathing uneven. He was muttering under his breath, something about deadlines, assignments, and grades. The energy in the room was heavy, almost suffocating. "Ethan?" I said again, gently this time. He spun around, startled, like he'd just been caught doing something he shouldn't. "Mom, I didn't hear you," he stammered, trying to close his laptop quickly. But before he could hide it, I saw it, the faint shimmer of tears in his eyes. My heart clenched. My son, who had always tried to be strong, was breaking right in front of me. "What's going on, sweetheart?" I asked softly. For a moment, he didn't answer. His jaw tightened, and I could almost see the war inside him, pride versus pain. Then finally, his voice cracked. "I think I'm going to fail one of my core classes," he whispered. "I've been trying so hard, but no matter what I do, it's just not enough. I didn't want you to know. It hit me like a wave." He wasn't just worried about his grades. He was terrified of disappointing me. "Oh, Ethan." I sighed, walking toward him. "You don't have to be perfect for me." He shook his head, tears slipping down his cheeks. "But you've done everything for me, Mom. After Dad left, I promised myself I'd make you proud. I didn't want you to think I couldn't handle things." In that moment, I realized how heavy that invisible promise had been. The child who once depended on me had spent years trying to protect me, from his own struggles, his own fear of failure. I reached out and pulled him into my arms. "Listen to me," I whispered. "You never have to hide from me. You don't have to prove anything. You're my son, that's enough." And right then he broke. His shoulders shook as he cried against me. Not like a child, but like a young man who'd been holding too much for too long. I held him, stroking his hair, whispering the same way I used to when he'd fall and scrape his knee. That day changed something between us. Not in any unusual or inappropriate way, but in a deeper, human way. We rediscovered honesty. The wall of quiet strength he'd built began to crack, and through those cracks, light started to shine again. In the weeks that followed, we created a new kind of rhythm. I'd make him coffee late at night while he studied. Sometimes we'd sit at the kitchen table surrounded by notebooks and open textbooks, both of us lost in quiet focus. Him solving equations, me reading or just keeping him company. It became our unspoken ritual. I wasn't there to fix his problems, just to remind him he wasn't alone. As the months passed, something beautiful happened. Ethan started to talk, really talk, about his dreams, his fears, the pressure he felt to have it all figured out. He even shared how lost he sometimes felt, trying to live up to invisible expectations. There was one night I'll never forget. It was past midnight, and the house was still except for the ticking of the clock. The two of us sat at the kitchen table, him hunched over his notes, me with a cup of coffee in hand. The light above us was soft, almost golden. He looked up suddenly and smiled, tired but sincere. "You know, Mom," he said quietly, "I never realized how much I needed this. Just you being here." I felt my throat tighten, and I never realized how much I needed to hear that. I whispered back. That night, I understood something profound. That love doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's silent. Sometimes it's sitting beside someone in their storm without trying to stop the rain. Ethan eventually passed his class. Not with the perfect grade he had hoped for, but with something far more valuable: perspective. He learned that success isn't about never falling. It's about knowing someone will be there when you do. And I learned something too. Being a parent isn't about fixing every broken piece or shielding your child from failure. It's about walking beside them, hand in hand, through every stumble and misstep. Looking back now, I see that day, the moment I opened his door, as a gift. It wasn't about shame or failure. It was about discovery. I discovered my son's vulnerability, and he discovered that his mother wasn't someone to impress, but someone to lean on. If there's one thing I want every parent to remember, it's this: don't wait until it's too late to see the quiet battles your children are fighting. Sometimes they won't tell you they're drowning. Sometimes you'll only notice if you stop and look closely. All it takes is one gentle question, one patient moment, one open door. Because love, real love, isn't always loud. It doesn't always come with grand gestures or perfect words. Sometimes it's just showing up, sitting down, listening. And for Ethan and me, that quiet kind of love, that simple act of being there, was enough to change everything.